Hi guys, welcome back to the channel today. Welcome back to another Come Drive With Me episode. I do probably need to start introducing this a bit more, but I think it's because every video I'm currently doing is a Come Drive With Me. Hopefully I can start doing more real life content outside of the car soon, maybe some match day stuff or just general chit chat off the road basically. I do have some video ideas I actually want to do. I just can't do them while I'm in the car, like I've been saying with this particular video that I really want to get done. But yeah, today it's quite hard to try and pick content to do really at the moment because of the international break and everything relevant is kind of, it's not that interesting really. There's only so much you can talk about of England at the moment, you know, playing Latvia and Austria. Who really cares? Like I'll probably watch the games, but if we don't win the games, it's pretty much like, oh well, we're still gonna qualify. Like, it's not that big a whoop. Maybe that's just me being a lazy England fan, but I actually find myself being a quite good England fan normally. But there's just something about it now. It's just like, okay, I think what it is that because we've done so well in international tournaments now, qualifiers just seem so meh. Like there's not really much point to them. It feels like friendlies. It feels like the top 10 realistically, when it feels like top 10 nations in the world should basically just get a pass to the major tournaments because they're going to do it anyway. It's no fun for the little nations who have got to come here and get battered basically, like Latvia. No one wants to see that, and it'd just be a bit, you know, it'd be a bit. I think it'd be a bit better if it did that. You save time for certain people as well. You could have some bigger fixtures put out there maybe, and you could actually give some of these big players some rest who play 70 games a season, you know. But anyway, that's probably just me being biased with an English passport or whatever, towards smaller nations. Which, maybe it's harsh, but I still feel like it's a relevant point. Anyway, the point I wanted to discuss today was Iraola at Bournemouth. So obviously Bournemouth are high flying in the Premier League. Well, they're now 10th. But they're like 5 points off 4th. So they could have been 4th, but they are 10th. Anyway, I've seen he's been heavily linked with this Tottenham job today, and I feel that leads quite nicely on from my previous video on Ange at Tottenham, and I was kind of talking about what's gone wrong at Tottenham, why some of it's on him, why some of it's not on him. In the end, I probably should have broken it down that, well, I watched if you guys remember it, the Antonio Conte interview after the Southampton 3-3 draw. He basically had a meltdown. He went in on the club, in on the players, he went in on the owner, and he just went absolutely mental on all of them. And I forgot an interview that she said, if Tottenham want to change, I'll be manager. If Tottenham don't want to change, they can get another manager. And it's like, when you look at what happened in the years afterwards, well, it's only 2 years ago. It feels mad to say Conte was Spurs manager 2 years ago. It rings true. Like, it's the history of the Hotspur, as they say. Yeah, it's weird how the club has kind of fallen off, but it's not a surprise. Like, if you go off what Conte said, like he literally said, the culture of that club is broken. They accept mediocrity and they're happy with it basically. So whether that's a good thing for going into it, maybe he feels like he can change it. Obviously it's not confirmed, this or whatever, like I'm just speculating from what I've seen, and apparently he hasn't rejected the move. Like, someone's asked him about it and he hasn't said, oh, I wouldn't do it, which I think is a big point, because if he's not going to do the job, he would say, I'm not doing the job. He hasn't said that. So I think it's a bit of a kick in the teeth for Bournemouth, really. And if they do sack Ange in season Spurs, I'd be a bit worried if I'm a Bournemouth fan, because Iraola's been arguably one of the managers of the season. I'd say him and Nuno are definitely up there. Even if but because Bournemouth will come good. They're not going to finish 10th or anything. I think they will go back to where they were. But then if Brighton come in that top 7 or 8 or whatever, Herzl gets a shout, but even still irrelevant. I keep getting on tangents and videos, and it just means I get wide off my point a bit. What I was trying to say about Iraola is he's been class for Bournemouth this season, and it's not a surprise that some of the big clubs are trying to poach him, basically. It's to be expected. But I remember seeing this before. I can't remember who was debating it. It might have been on Sky or something. Would Iraola actually go to Tottenham? What benefit does he get from going to Spurs? And it's a pretty good question to ask. Because currently, let's assume Bournemouth come 7th, maybe 8th, 7th, maybe, and they get Conference League potentially, or they win that the FA Cup or something like that. Why would he leave Bournemouth for Tottenham? You know, he finishes higher in the table. He has European football. He has a very good squad in terms of the players he's brought in, and he's got them playing the way he wants to play. He's going to have to reset everything at Tottenham, refresh a squad potentially, for players that he wants, and have to implement a whole new set of tactics when there's potential for this Bournemouth team, with the amount of young players they have in it, to kick on and go again next season and potentially go higher. I think the risk with Bournemouth is that because their players are so young and they have release clauses in their contracts, you will probably see them get snipped up this season. You might see this Bournemouth team get picked apart. I think Dean Huijsen, I wanted to do even just a video on him himself. Like, he's been outstanding this season. I made a video earlier on Liverpool, and I touted him as a potential like Van Dijk replacement sort of thing. He's not a like for like, but at 19 years old he could definitely grow into it. And he's got £50 million release clause, so I think he'll probably get snapped up. I think Kerkez definitely goes this summer. If they manage to keep hold of Kerkez, they've done amazing Bournemouth, but I can just see Liverpool going for him. If it's not Liverpool, it'll be Man City or someone like of that nature, maybe United or something, but I think Liverpool is the one for Kerkez. And I think if they start getting players picked off, that might be why Iraola thinks maybe I should consider my options if I've got big clubs coming for me, because his stock might not get higher. But at the same time, if he can sell these players, bring some more in and do it again, could get a bigger job than Spurs. But I think every manager's got that arrogance of like, nah, I can go in and fix them, and they have to have that arrogance. That's how they're good managers. So he'll think he can go to Spurs and fix the club basically. But I look at it and I go, Mourinho couldn't fix it, and Conte couldn't fix it, who are two serial winners. What makes Iraola think he's going to change the whole culture of the club? It gives me like a Pochettino vibe, where they'll be really good and they'll play nice football, but they won't win a league or win a cup. Like, they won't have that doggedness in them to go and do that. I'm not saying Bournemouth can't go and win the FA Cup, because I think that's completely different. That club hasn't been scarred, and that club's culture is completely different to Tottenham. I think there's actually a very good chance that he could go and win that with Bournemouth, because Bournemouth can beat any Premier League club on their day. We've already seen it this season. They've beaten a lot of the big names, and I just don't see why not. With who's left in the cup, they could beat Villa, they could beat City, and they could beat Brighton. Like, they've got to play City next round. I think that if they beat Man City next round, the amount of confidence they will take from that is massive. So, reasons why he wouldn't take the job would be, obviously, he's settled, he's comfortable, and his squad's very good. But I think the allure of that big club, who are meant to be in Europe, or I say meant to, they're a consistent team in Europe for the past 10 to 15 years, just has that draw. I think it still has it, because obviously it is a bigger club at the end of the day, and while they're languishing in the bottom half of the table currently, they're not going to stay there in the long term realistically. Do I actually see this happening? Potentially. I think it's very contingent on how Ange does in the Europa League. If Ange can take Tottenham to the semi-finals of the Europa League, I think he probably keeps his job. If he can keep, as long as he doesn't get too many bad results in the Prem. I think if he comes 12th in the Prem, gets to the Europa League semi-final, maybe they'll go. It wasn't a great season, but it could have been. It could have been worse. You know, we had a lot of injuries. Like they'll look at it like that and be like, look, we'll give them one more season. If we start badly, then you look to shade. I think that's kind of like a Ten Hag should have gone anyway, but maybe I'm just biased because I like Ange, but I feel like they're gonna look at it and go, look, we'll give him till Christmas. If there's no change, Iraola will probably still be at Bournemouth, and he can come in for January and do some business then if he needs to. I think that's how they'll look at it. Well, Daniel Levy is very much a money man, so he's not going to want to pay out Iraola of his Bournemouth contract. He's not going to want to pay out Ange of his Spurs contract. So I think he's definitely going to be keeping him on. So definitely, I think it's like 95% chance they do keep Ange on. I'll be surprised if they let him go, even with the fans getting on his back a bit. Because at the end of the day, as long as he's going to make some money from it, he'll keep him on. And like I said, Iraola, there aren't many clubs where he can go to right now anyway. You know, you look at, I know I'm potentially linked with him, but Ancelotti's not going anywhere next season. Hansi Flick at Barcelona not going anywhere next season. Companies at Bayern Munich already. Arteta's going nowhere. Guardiola's going nowhere. Slot's just got to Liverpool. Amram's just coming to United. Maybe Enzo Maresca has a bit of a hiccup at Chelsea. Maybe they look to move him on. So potentially you'd be looking at openings at Chelsea and Tottenham. But then would he get the Chelsea job? Would they look to change their approach and go for a more proven manager if they did change again? There's no guarantee, you know. Whether I think it doesn't hurt him to stay there, and Spurs will probably come knocking at some point. Like they just will. Ange, they won't win anything under Ange, in my opinion. I think the style of play, it just is too crazy and chaotic to win something under him. But there's a chance he goes. I just don't think it's a very high chance right now. I think the reason he goes is because of the fact he'd probably lose his best players. Like, you might see Justin Kluivert get moved on, as well as Huijsen and Kerkez, because of how good he's been as well this season. But Bournemouth have shown a lot of ambition, you know, in the transfer window. Signing Evan Nilsson, I think, was a massive statement of them being like, look, we lost Solanke for 65 mil. We've gone and spent 40 million of that on Evan Nilsson. But It's kind of like, I don't know if you guys would have seen it. It was Neve on the Overlap, I think it was, and she basically said these clubs don't need to sell anymore. Like, I think she was saying like Crystal Palace and Gahey. Obviously Spurs came in for Gahey for 70 mil. She's basically saying that they don't have to take the money. Why should they take the money? And while I didn't agree with that, I did actually agree with James Lawrence Alcott on the podcast. I agreed that they should have just taken the money, because that was crazy money. 70 million for Gahey when has he got 6 months on his deal, I think. It's just like mental. It might be, I think it's 18 months actually, but still, because that money's not going to come back. And that money can be so huge for clubs like that, who can reinvest it and spend it smartly. Especially for like a Bournemouth, if they were to get 50 million, well, the release cost for Hoyson is 50 mil, so they will get 50 mil if they sell him. And they'll probably get about the same for Kirkes. So if you've got 100 million for them two, for Bournemouth, they'd probably go and reinvest it again, you know. And I would back Bournemouth to spend it quite well. I feel like their recruitment's been quite solid in these last few years. But they just got to be careful that not too many of the players get picked off, and they have replacements lined up. Because they could lose, like I said, like a Clivert as well, or a Semenyo. And if they lose too many of those players, then you look at the manager going like, well, why would I stay here? You know, you're not showing enough ambition for me to want to stay here. So the club's got to match the manager's ambitions as well now. I think they can afford to lose Hoyson, mate. Well, they're not going to have much choice, but they can afford to lose Hoyson and Kirkes as long as they replace them and they don't lose any other players, I'd say. If they go and lose 4 or 5 players in the summer, then they're going to struggle next season. But anyway, that's my thoughts on it. I don't see him going this summer, but I do think eventually he will end up as most likely the Spurs manager. If not Spurs, I think you could definitely see United testing the waters at some point if Amaru doesn't work out. Not that I think Amaru's not going to work out, but I think there's every chance that it doesn't work out. And he's very touted right now. I mean, if you get Real Madrid links, then you're definitely doing well. But yeah, that's my opinion on the links for Iraola to Spurs. Let me know if you disagree. Let me know if you've heard any other rumours that sound interesting or worth discussion. But yeah, thank you guys for coming along, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.